Imagine opening your eyes one morning, and before you've even stood up, your day has already been shaped by the sun, the noise of the streets, and the strict social rules of an empire. No alarm clock, no electricity, no running water. Yet somehow, millions of people manage to live in one of the greatest cities the world has ever seen. So what was it really like to wake up in ancient Rome?
When people think about ancient Rome, they usually imagine gladiators, massive temples, or powerful emperors, but those were only a tiny part of Roman life. Most people were ordinary citizens trying to get through another busy day. Their mornings looked surprisingly familiar in some ways and completely unbelievable in others. Today, let's step back nearly 2,000 years and experience what an average morning in ancient Rome may have felt like, from the moment your eyes opened until the city was fully awake. And as we go, think about this. If you had to live 1 week in ancient Rome, do you think you'd enjoy it?
The first thing you notice, the noise. Unlike today, there were no phones buzzing or digital alarms. Instead, Rome woke you. Street vendors shouted before sunrise, animals wandered through the streets, neighbors talked loudly through thin apartment walls, wooden carts rattled over uneven stone roads. If you lived in one of Rome's crowded apartment buildings, known as insulae, sleeping late was almost impossible. The higher your apartment was, the cheaper it usually was, but it also meant climbing several flights of stairs every single day. And if there was a fire, which happened more often than you'd hope, escaping from the upper floors could become terrifying. What about where you live? Is it the sounds of traffic, birds, or maybe your alarm that wakes you up every morning? No bathroom down the hall. After waking up, your next challenge wasn't checking your phone. It was finding a place to relieve yourself. Many ordinary homes didn't have private toilets. People often used public latrines, shared with dozens of others. Imagine sitting shoulder to shoulder with complete strangers while having casual conversations. Privacy wasn't really part of Roman daily life. Even more surprising, they didn't have toilet paper. Instead, they often used a sponge attached to a stick, cleaned between uses in water or vinegar. To us, that sounds uncomfortable. To them, it was simply normal. It's a reminder that what feels normal often depends on the time and place where you live. Breakfast was surprisingly simple. Forget giant breakfasts with pancakes, eggs, and coffee. Most Romans ate very little in the morning. A piece of bread, some olives, cheese, maybe leftover food from the previous day. If you were wealthy, your breakfast could be more varied. Fresh fruit, honey, and better quality bread might appear on the table, but for the average person, breakfast was quick. The day ahead was more important than the meal itself. Have you ever skipped breakfast because you were in a hurry? Romans probably understand that feeling better than you think. Water didn't come from a kitchen tap. Feeling thirsty? You couldn't just turn a faucet. Rome had one of the most advanced water systems in the ancient world. Huge aqueducts carried fresh water from distant hills into the city. Public fountains were common, and many people collected water there every day. But not every home had direct access. Fetching water could become part of your morning routine. It's amazing to think that a technology built thousands of years ago was so effective that parts of some Roman aqueducts still stand today. Getting dressed wasn't as easy as it looks. Movies often show everyone wearing elegant white togas. In reality, most Romans didn't wear togas every day. The toga was formal clothing. Many people wore simple tunics that were much more practical for daily life. Clothing also told others who you were, your social class, your profession, sometimes even your citizenship. Without saying a single word, your clothes already spoke for you. The streets came alive fast. Step outside, and Rome was already buzzing. Blacksmiths hammered metal. Bakers prepared fresh bread. Merchants arranged their goods. Children hurried through narrow streets. Workers headed toward construction sites, markets, workshops, or government buildings. The smell? That depended on where you were standing. Fresh bread from one corner, animals from another, smoke from cooking fires, open drains nearby. Ancient Rome was vibrant, but it wasn't always pleasant.
The rich and the poor lived very different lives. One of the biggest differences in Roman mornings depended on your social status. A wealthy Roman might wake up in a spacious house with servants preparing the day. An ordinary worker had to leave early just to earn enough money for food. Enslaved people often had the hardest mornings of all. Many started working before sunrise and had little control over their own schedules. The city looked the same from the outside, but daily life could be completely different depending on who you were. Time worked differently. Romans didn't divide their day exactly like we do. Hours changed with the seasons. In summer, daylight hours became longer. In winter, they became shorter. Without modern clocks, people relied on the position of the sun, water clocks, or sundials. Your entire routine followed nature more closely than technology. Imagine planning your whole day based on sunlight instead of a phone. It feels strange today, but for thousands of years, that's exactly how humans lived. A morning full of community. Perhaps the biggest surprise is that Roman mornings were rarely spent alone. People met neighbors at fountains, talked in markets, visited local shops, shared news face to face. Life happened outdoors. Without television or social media, daily conversations became the main source of information. The city itself felt like one giant living network. Maybe that's something we've slowly lost in modern life. The most fascinating part isn't the lack of technology, it's how adaptable people were. Modern life often makes us think that comfort is necessary for happiness, but Romans built families, businesses, friendships, and one of history's greatest civilizations without most of the conveniences we consider essential today. At the same time, I wouldn't want to romanticize their lives. Many people faced difficult living conditions, limited privacy, and harsh social inequality. Looking at their mornings reminds us that every era has its own challenges. The things we complain about today might have seemed like unbelievable luxuries to someone living 2,000 years ago. If you enjoy exploring the ordinary parts of history that most people never think about, consider subscribing. There are countless fascinating stories hidden in everyday life, and sometimes the smallest details reveal the biggest truths about the past. Tomorrow morning, when your alarm goes off, your lights turn on, and clean water flows from your tap, take a second to think about this. If you had opened your eyes in ancient Rome instead, how different would your life have been before breakfast?